Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this. Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Every time I say it, it's going to suck even more.
May I present to you the cat?
I am Medela. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon.
Hello.
And Caleb.
Hey!
And guess what? We are here to talk all things Apple this week.
Pretty much.
Because that's pretty much what's happened. So it's kind of the majority of the podcast episode today, listener. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and hear the smoothing sounds of Caleb and Landon talking, because I'll probably just have more yups, in this, in this part. I'm
kind of like how last week was all you two and very little of me. This is going to be me and Caleb and very little of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
when do I get a week like that?
You know what? We need to figure that out. When we start, I was about to say when we start doing music, but then I'm like, well, no, you're into that too. I don't know. We'll just have to figure something out. Maybe when you're sick. I don't know.
I'll just lose my voice and just sit over here and whisper at the microphone.
That's what it'll be. Well, listener, there was an event, WWDC 25. Not 26, just like they're naming 25.
Yeah.
That would have
started that
amazing.
Well, I started that off.
We'll get into that right at the beginning. Don't worry.
Well, Caleb,
that's coming early.
Why don't you take it away?
Yes, listener, WWDC 25 has happened, and you've probably seen some stuff about it on the internet. Wouldn't be terribly surprising. If you haven't, that's also fine. Generally speaking, the people that are talking about this event have been extremely over the top thrilled with how it went. And to be clear, unlike some previous years, particularly with WWDC, this was pretty good. It was about an hour and a half long, and they didn't repeat themselves at all, right?
Yeah.
They stated information once and then moved on. They didn't have extended skits in the middle about how committed they are to environmental friendliness or anything like that. They didn't take 45 minutes at the beginning to basically just rehash everything they did over the past year. The rehash was maybe 2 minutes long, an introduction from Tim, and that was it. So that was all really good. It's just that most of the stuff they were talking about was either directly targeted at developers, which that's fine. It's a developer conference, right? Worldwide developer conference. So chill, totally cool. Or was about features that were pretty much exclusively for power users of Apple devices.
Yeah.
Which are most of the people who are on podcasts and YouTube channels talking about this event so far. So, okay, they're all very positive about this because it was an entire event just for them. But, it was a pretty good event. I will say, from my perspective, they didn't talk about Apple Intelligence constantly for the entire thing. And I was really happy for that, personally.
Yes.
So, thought that was great. I gotta say, the very beginning of it started off with an F1 skit thing because they produced a movie called F1 starring Brad Pitt that is in theaters now, I think, and will be on Apple TV Plus here in a month or two. And so, there was an F1 themed skit where Craig Federighi was driving an F1 car around the top of their spaceship building.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was fine. It was whatever. They keep casting Tim in these things and they need to stop doing that. Guy can't act
so
literally
bad.
To save his life. You could put a gun to the man's head and he would deliver every single line in the exact same emotionless tone as he did this video. But Craig is fun. Craig is fun to watch do these things. And he got out of the car that he was driving at the end, took off his helmet, and had like a cloth cap underneath it. And then he took that off. And instead of just having his perfectly manicured, extremely voluminous hair underneath, which, Hair Force One, it's the move. They actually replaced his hair with CG hair that was like 5 times higher and
so
more
great.
like poofy. It was a great punchline. That honestly it was almost the highlight of the entire event for me. It took them until very close to the end to beat that. But no, that was a great way to start it off. As for the contents of the event itself, those can be summed up pretty effectively with 2 concepts. The first concept that Wes already mentioned, it's all 26. We talked about this on the last episode, how Apple was probably going to be renaming all of their OSs to line up with the year that they're introduced in. And they seem to be going with the idea that because most of the months you will be using these OSs will be in 2026, we're going to call them 26. I still don't like that, but it's okay. I'll get over it. I'm going to be more annoyed. I'm going to be more annoyed when we get to the end of the year and they release the iPhone 26, because that's just stupid. That's a piece of hardware.
Yeah.
It's not. Anyways, it's not. I don't want to know what year I used it for the most, because I'm going to use this phone for 2 years or more, Apple. Therefore, should it be called the iPhone 27 because I'll be using it mostly in 2027? Anyways. So there's that. The second concept is liquid glass, which is just Apple's new name for skeuomorphism.
Yeah.
Where instead of making the software that you are using look like a physical notepad or a physical calculator the way it was back before iOS 7, they're making them all look like glass because you're looking at them on a sheet of glass. Okay. So this is just 2025 skeuomorphism. Okay.
Basically.
Fine. I can live with that.
All right.
So yes, all of the OSs have been renamed to 26, and all of them have gotten a complete, pretty much from the ground up, interface redesign to appear as though everything is glass. So, okay, that's WWDC 25 from the perspective of a consumer. Hope you didn't think this was going to be a long episode. I guess we could talk a little bit more about individual features or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do something.
Hopefully.
So, they start the 5-minute podcast, that would be actually amazing for something that has to do with Apple, because iOS, they actually, okay, I have not looked at my notes since I wrote them down while I was watching the event, and the first bullet point that I have under iOS is Craig got a ticket.
Yeah,
there was a lot of there was a lot of like stuff in this event about Craig driving from one location to another to present all the different sections of the event. And in the very first one, they show somebody writing up. It's a parking ticket for the F1 car from the opening, isn't it? Yeah. So that was my very first thing that I noted for iOS. The main thing for iOS, as far as you, the average consumer that has an iPhone, you're going to upgrade at the end of this year. What is going to change the most for you? Remember all those cool phone features that Google added to Android about 5 years ago on the Pixel? You're getting all those. So that's cool.
I'm actually very excited about that. That was one thing I was very sad to leave on my Android phone, was those call features.
Yep.
Although,
so
I'm questioning, because they said like the basically putting on hold, or not on the, what was it called?
The hold assist or something.
No,
is what
the other
it.
one where they
call screening?
Call screening, yeah, which is
basically
what they call it. I think that is what they call it in Android.
I think it is, yeah.
The way they worded this is like, it's basically, they said any unknown number, and I'm like, that's not a good idea, because the way it works on Android is like, if it's a potentially spam call, which Apple does tell you if it's potential spam, on Android, those ones go directly to not necessarily voicemail, but to this call screen thing, whereas unknown numbers just will ring through like normal, and you can send it to call screen if you want. So I'm kind of hoping that that's actually how it's implemented, and it's not just any unknown number, because that would be miserable for anybody trying to call anybody.
So I hear you, Landon, but the way that I currently have my phone set up is with, and this is just a personal thing. I'm a millennial. I don't talk on the phone. If you're trying to call me via the phone, you better have darn good reason for doing so, and you'd better be in my contact list. I have had caller ID since I was like 8. I refuse to exist without knowing who is calling me. Unknown numbers do not fly. So I don't answer a number that doesn't pop up with a name. It goes to voicemail, and my voicemail message is literally, if I didn't pick up the phone, it's for one of 2 reasons. Either I'm not able to pick up the phone, or you're not in my contact list. So if you need to get a hold of me, leave your name and number, and I'll call you back. Or send me a text. Like, that's my voicemail message. So this is exactly what I want it to do. It's basically replacing that whole thing for me. And so I appreciate what you're saying, because you're right. But also, it works great for me. I mean,
I do agree 100% with you on that. I do the same thing, but 99% of the time that is the case. But there are those times where I am expecting a call from like a doctor's office or like a car plate, something like that. I don't have their number in my phone, and Apple doesn't do what Google does in that regards, where it does pull for the number from what's listed on Google's website and tells you, oh, this place is calling you, which I also love. I wish Apple would do that.
That would be nice.
They could do that with Apple Maps, but they don't for some reason. No. But if they were to do that, that's a different story. But so there are a few times, again, very rare, but it does happen, where I am expecting a call and I will answer it then if I suspect the number to be that place.
Right.
And specifically for me, it's a little easier because my phone number is not a phone number that's local to where we live. So any phone number I get that is the area code similar to what mine is, I know it's spam and I don't answer those. But if it's a phone number to what's local to us, it most likely actually is somebody. I still don't necessarily answer those phone calls, but I know it's a real person. Right.
Yeah.
But so those very few totally times valid. It could be nice is to have the option.
I just send all of my doctors and mechanics to voicemail, and then I add their phone numbers to my contacts list.
That's fair.
Which is kind of funny because I do I'll occasionally look at my contacts and be like, oh yeah, that's that mechanic that I took my car to 15 years ago or something like that, because I added them to my contact list so that they would actually show up, so that I wouldn't, I would actually answer the phone. So yeah, I hear you. You're not wrong, but also this is going to work exactly the way that I want it to. So I'm pretty pleased about that. And I'm just jazzed to be in the club,
Yes, I mean, I am still very, very happy that it is coming to iOS, because
yes,
like I said, that's one of my favorite features that I really miss on Android.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The call screening and the whole voicemail or hold assist or whatever they called that thing, where it's if you call and you get put on hold, you can just turn on hold assist, set the phone down, and when they finally come back off of hold, your phone will tell them, hang on a second, and then ring.
And then you put them on hold.
Pick up now. Exactly.
See, I want to call Comcast just for fun and put them on hold for 30 minutes.
Oh. Oh, it'd be perfect. So yeah, that's pretty great. And honestly, yeah, in addition to a whole bunch of interface redesigns for the whole liquid glass thing, that's kind of the main thing coming to iOS.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's pretty good. I'm happy for these things. I don't know if it constitutes like a huge update or anything like that, but no, I'm pretty jazzed about it.
Wait, you're forgetting the biggest update that they're finally stealing from Android that's been there since basically the beginning. And that is background colors or pictures inside of messages.
That's true. Yes.
I saw that. I'm like,
Oh,
are
boy.
you freaking kidding me? That's the dumbest thing
Yeah.
on Android. Why are you copying that?
Why they are copying that is, I think, because they're looking at the regulatory landscape and the number of people that are putting the screws to them over the fact that their ecosystem, their operating system is extremely locked down to like almost an absurd degree. And they're going, okay, we are probably going to be forced sometime in the next couple of years to allow users to change the default messaging app on their phones.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get out in front of that with just making messages a really like feature rich, matches all of the stuff you can do with WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or whatever.
Yeah.
And once they've gotten it to that point and they are then forced to do that is when they're going to put messages on Android so that instead of having all of the iPhone users ditch them for something else, they're going to be pressuring their friends to download messages. And that'll probably be pretty effective because Android users are already so used to downloading and using third-party messaging apps that I think that might work for them. So they've been doing stuff like that to messages for years, and I think that's actually a pretty clever attempt to get ahead of what they know is inevitable at this point, you know?
Yeah.
So
The one thing with that feature that worries me is they made it sound like with a group chat is if one person changes the background, it changes it for everyone, and I desperately hope that's not the case because that's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be awful.
I am right there with you. That would be awful.
That would be terrible.
If that is the case, if I'm in any group chats that somebody does this, I will change the picture immediately to something nobody wants. And when it changes back, I will change it back again just to prove that it's a bad feature.
I have been in plenty of group chats on messages where, you know, people will just change the name constantly.
Oh.
I hate that. I hate it so much. I've done the whole like changing the name of the group chat to stop changing the name of the group chat multiple times. Like frickin' chill, people. So yeah, no, I know why. Like I said, I understand why they're probably adding all these features to messages, but there's a lot of these features I did not want in messages.
Yeah.
So, okay, we'll see.
The two features that they are bringing to messages that I do like, that is making it, again, on par with other messaging services. And these two remind me of Slack or Discord, where you have the ability to add a poll, which I kind of like. And then the other one that I actually really, really, really like is typing indicators for individual people. So if multiple people are typing at the same time, you can see, oh, this person and this person are typing instead of just 3 dots at the bottom. And now you actually know who's going to be sending you a message shortly. I do really like that.
Yep. Yeah, they're definitely making some improvements. It's stuff that you'll notice, listener. It's not going to change the quality of your life.
No, absolutely not.
This is not making life better for anyone. This is just a business move from Apple. But okay. They're also adding a gaming app to iOS. It's just so remember how there used to be a Game Center app back in the day, listener?
Yep.
In fact, originally it was in the skeuomorphism days of like iOS 6, and it had a felt background with like wood borders around it and stuff, so it looked like a poker table.
So bad.
And it was fun. It was, man, apps were fun back then. So then they got rid of that and just kind of stuck Game Center deep into the nether regions of the settings app, and it was a pain in the butt to find or use, and was dumb. So they're stopping with that. Now it's its own app again. But instead of calling it Game Center, they're just calling it the gaming app.
Yeah.
It's quote unquote a place to aggregate all of your games, but they're not pulling that. They're not pulling it out of the App Store. You still install and find games in the App Store. The gaming app just shows them to you on your device.
You know what else is a really good game app aggregator? A folder on your home screen.
Yep. Well, listen. The app drawer on iOS has a dedicated gaming folder
Also
in it. That's where all your games go. Just they're in there. No, like it'll show you stuff that your friends are doing. It'll list your achievements as you unlock them and stuff like that. It also has, it seems like what they're trying to do with this is sort of give it a Steam Tools vibe so that developers can use the APIs here to make achievements and like multiplayer competition exist in single player games, sort of the way that Steam does with some of the tools that they offer to developers. That's kind of the majority of what this app is really about. Not necessarily something you're going to see fronted to you as a consumer, at least not yet. It's possible that some of your games may start to support this in the future. And if you have a single player game that you enjoy playing, you also have friends who enjoy playing it, and you want to compare directly to each other rather than doing like some kind of giant online leaderboard or something like that, then the Game Center app does have some tools that will allow you to do that, kind of set up like individual competitions just among your friends to see who is the best at games that are not strictly multiplayer. So that's it. That's it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's whatever. That was kind of it for iOS for me. Like, anything else, Landon?
I mean, I really hope that it doesn't automatically change all of your icons to the clear icon when you download the...
From what I have seen, they're essentially going to just be adding clear as an option alongside light or dark.
Right. That's what it looked like too.
So the way that you can set it up currently, right, you can have your light mode and dark mode icons, or you can have them tinted to match like your background.
Right.
Clear is just another option alongside those.
The only way I would ever...
I may try it out.
I'm going to try it just to see how bad it actually looks.
Yeah.
But I do think it would be really cool, and this obviously is not the case, and it probably won't ever be the case because it is Apple. Well, maybe I can't say that. It might in 10 years happen. But what would be the only way I would use this clear type of icon, well, not even icon set, I would do it with only widgets and only specific widgets. And maybe like, because there were some widgets that actually looked pretty good with that clear aesthetic look to it. But all the icons, unless you have the exact right background, you can't see what the icons are very well. The words don't show up very well either. And so it was just really strange.
Which, if you really want to front your background over all else, I guess that's cool. In which case, you can just kind of delete all of the widgets and icons off of your home screen and just use the app drawer.
Fair.
Which, to be fair, that is what I do on Android phones when I use them. Like when I've owned Android phones, I tend to have my main home screen is just blank. Maybe has like a clock on it or something like that. Because I put a background up. I want to see the background. And then I'll swipe if I need to get to apps.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
One way you could make this look fine is if and they do allow this now, where you can have your lock screen background one thing, like a main picture or something, and then you can just have your home screen background a color that matches that. It doesn't have to be the background, doesn't have to be a blurred version of the background, just a matching color to have that still look good when you unlock it. And then you can read all your icons, and then it actually probably wouldn't look horrible in that sense. But that's probably the only way it wouldn't look horrible.
Yeah, it's going to be, I'm going to play around with it when I get it just to see how all this stuff shakes out. But
yeah,
some more customization for your lock screen, home screen, and stuff as part of a redesign for Liquid Glass. But, that treatment is kind of coming across the entire ecosystem, which I suppose does mean this is kind of the first time we're ever going to have a completely unified visual look to all of Apple's operating systems.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting.
Except for me, I won't be able to have that because my computer won't be getting the new macOS.
That's true. Yes, that's true. Okay, so moving on from iOS to watchOS, the main feature seems like it's a workout buddy.
So dumb.
Buddy not required.
I like that.
It's essentially just an AI summary of your stats. Like, they're just taking your stats for not only the workout you're currently doing, but also past workouts and whatnot, and comparing your current performance to past performance, and then compiling that information and reading it out to you sort of as like a mid-workout pep talk in an AI voice.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
Which, if you're really into, like, I guess that wouldn't motivate me.
No.
Right? That this feature would not motivate me. It would not, like, I don't want to hear like, oh, you're like 0.7 of a minute ahead of where you were this workout last, whatever. I'm like, that's not gonna make me feel better about life, because occasionally it's gonna be like, hey, pick up the pace. You're just 30 seconds behind where you normally are at this point. Like, freaking shut up. Like, I'm having a bad day. It's okay.
Yeah.
So no, that would not.
I'm allowed to be a little slower every once in a while. Come on.
Yeah. Shut up. Yeah. So no, this just, I mean, I can't work out at like a gym or something like that. I don't want people talking to me while I'm working out.
Yeah.
Like, give me my tunes or a movie in the background, and that's it. Like, do not try and converse with me. Do not try and read statistics to me. That's not that, so this is not my thing. This is the workout buddy that I would do like 2 bike rides with, and then I would go out of my way to avoid running into them at the gym. Like, I'd run into them. They'd be like, hey, when are we going to ride next? I'd be like, oh, sorry. I don't, and jump off a bridge and break my leg just to avoid them. I don't, like, I can't.
Yes.
So this is not a feature for me, but if you're the type of person who's motivated by that sort of thing, then cool. Apple's got you covered.
The one thing that would make this feature absolutely awesome, because when you said it's a workout buddy minus the buddy, I immediately thought of heavyweights when they go, buddy, And so if you were to yell out, buddy, and then it responds with, buddy, that would be great.
I now want that app.
But I don't think they're going to do that.
I feel like that would be a lot easier to develop than what Apple did here. Like,
it would be.
They put in too much work. Yeah. So that was kind of the big headline for watchOS. That's fine. Okay, it's cool. Whatever. They also did, this was interesting to me, auto-adjusted notification volume.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So, like, the watch is going to listen to your environment and adjust the notification, like the volume of notification sounds accordingly. So if you are going for a jog outside, or you're on like a subway platform or something like that, the noise is going to be loud. It's going to be like, oh, hey, look at me. Okay. Yeah, sure. If you're sitting in a library, it's going to be a little bit different, and that makes sense. And I'm sitting here like, you know what? If my phone did that, I might actually take it off of silent ever. you know?
See, and that's my thing. It's like, as somebody with an Apple Watch, I just want to say, okay, if you do have sound on both your phone and your watch, because generally they work in tandem like that, just don't. And two, the haptics on the watch are phenomenal. You're not going to miss a notification if you have the sound turned off on your watch. Even if you have it turned on your phone, you can turn it off on your watch, because I did that immediately as well. But the haptics on the watch are really, 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 really good. And so, like, just do that.
Yeah. And that was kind of my thing, is like, I'm listening to them talk about this and I'm like, but that's on your wrist all the time.
Yeah.
Even if my phone is in my pocket, I do not always feel it vibrate.
Right.
And if it's not in my pocket, it's hopeless. I don't know when I get notifications if my phone isn't in my pocket. Like, literally, if my phone is not in my hand and I'm looking at it, I miss notifications all the time. But I'm not taking it off of silent, because the instant that I do, I will be in, the most inopportune moment, and a freaking hunting horn is going to come off for a text message that comes in. And no, I'm not doing it. My phone lives on silent, and it has for like an actual decade. Okay. So this auto adjusted notification volume on the watch, I'm like, neat. Add it to the phone.
Yeah.
And you might be moving somewhere,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of weird. It's an interesting feature, but I kind of agree with you, Landon. I feel like it's misplaced. This shouldn't be on the watch. This should be on the phone.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh, and the Mac, actually. Holy crap.
Oh my gosh. Notifications on the Mac are so freaking loud.
What the heck?
Even if it's
Apple.
silent on my phone and my watch, it's turned on the Mac, and it is so loud all the time.
Yes, it is. It is literally like the notification sound on Macs is just ignore system volume, attempt to break the speakers. That's the entire
So
impetus.
That's the
Is
worst.
like, can we blow out this driver? Anyways, so there you go. That's watchOS. Did I miss anything?
No, watchOS. Like, normally I paid attention to the watchOS stuff, because I know you don't care as much as I do.
I don't.
But the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, there's nothing here for me. Like, in years past, there's been like a couple things. I'm like, oh, that's actually going to be used. I might use that. I might use that. No, this one, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And there was a lot about how developers could integrate liquid glass and a bunch of new like the stupid little background twiddly things on app watch faces and stuff like that.
Complications.
Anyways, those, yes, how they could integrate complications better and stuff like that. There was quite a bit of stuff about that for the developers. Not really so much for the consumers. Once the developers start implementing that stuff, you might see it come to light in usable, useful ways. But we're not there yet, right? Like, we got to wait until at least September.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was watchOS. tvOS is here.
It still exists.
It's there.
Yeah, pretty much, so it's getting the liquid glass treatment as well. And they have redone their, like, the way they're handling profiles. So you can have it so that when you wake the Apple TV up, it will go to the profile selection screen, like pretty much every other streaming app on the planet does, before it starts launching you into content, so that all of your apps will be using the correct profile, and you won't accidentally have your kids signing into your games and ruining all of your progression and stuff like that, which has definitely never happened to me, but it's just a possible thing that could maybe happen. So that's a nice usability plus. They're taking the profile selection out of the stupid little whatever control center thing and making it just right up front. Like, hey, you've got multiple profiles here. Which one do you want? And then I'm assuming you'll be able to set up your home screen and stuff like that differently based on whose profile it is, because that would make sense, but it's possible that's not actually the case. currently switching profiles does not change any of that stuff. It just changes like whose Game Center profile you're using and that kind of thing. So we'll see. They also, under tvOS, talked about a thing that is, again, developers need to implement it before it's actually going to mean anything. But it applies across the entire ecosystem, where if you have an app that you have an app on multiple Apple devices, signing into it on one of them will sign into it on all of them if the developer implements this API, meaning that like I could sign into Dropout on my phone and then just download the Dropout app on my TV and it would be signed in already. Which is a great idea.
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah.
We'll see if anybody actually implements it in practice, but okay. Anything else with tvOS? That was...
I mean, I don't have an Apple TV, so...
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Apple
They are
TV
nice.
is, to me, what Apple Watch is to you.
That's fair. Look, Apple TV is a nice streaming box. I like it.
I have considered getting one just because it does, like, the functionality on it's great. But
yeah.
At this point, I'm like, well, I don't want to buy the current one because it's 18 years old. I'll wait till they come up with a new one if that ever happens. And if they come up with a new one, it'll be worth potentially buying.
It's only 3 years old, Landon. Come on. It's not that old.
It feels so much older.
I will be fair. It has not changed much in 18 years. No, okay. When did the 4th gen Apple TV come out? Because that was the first one that had like the App Store and all that stuff. And that was in like 2017-ish.
That was the first one with that with the really dumb remote too.
Actually, I think that was before the really dumb remote. I think the really dumb remote came after that. But maybe I'm wrong. Actually, no. Now that I think about it, my first Apple TV was a 3rd gen Apple TV. That was in like, when was that? Oh my gosh, like 2012 or something like that, 2013. That one had a great remote. And then you're right. The 4th gen Apple TV was the one with the glass remote. I still have that remote. It is chipped. Like there's no way to avoid that. That was such a terrible idea. Anyways, macOS. Let's talk about macOS.
Alrighty.
So macOS 26. Yeah, that's what it is now. It's called Tahoe. They are still giving it a name. I think at this point, it's pretty much exclusively just so that Craig has an excuse to have a little monologue making fun of their quote-unquote crack marketing team.
Yep.
Which he started out this time by saying, our crack marketing team thought that coming up with the number 26 was enough, and they were just ready to cash their paychecks and leave.
Yeah.
But we said no. So anyways, Tahoe. It's Tahoe, which, to be fair, Tahoe is gorgeous. Like, that is a beautiful, beautiful lake. Not much changed for macOS. At least not much that you as a consumer, your average consumer, are going to use. There's definitely some stuff that, like, deeper power users are going to use. Basically, if you're the type of person who was buying a separate app to add functionality to Spotlight before, then you can stop paying for that app because Apple added all that functionality to Spotlight in Tahoe. They did add some continuity stuff. Live activities are going to come via the phone app on continuity. You can now click on the live activities and it will just pull up the whatever the phone
mirroring
Mac thing. Yeah, phone mirroring, iPhone mirroring. It'll just pull that up and you can interact with it that way. And then a bunch of updates to Shortcuts and Spotlight that are integrating quote unquote Apple Intelligence features, basically using AI to sort of, I don't know, it's just add a bunch of power user features to these tools. Spotlight's going to add the ability to browse your file system from directly in Spotlight instead of having to use Finder. It's also going to add these like auto-generated like shortcut things, so you can just hit a couple of keys and it will autocorrect it essentially into a larger search. Okay. It's going to allow you to search your clipboard history, which is kind of interesting. I do sort of like that.
Yeah.
And it's supposedly going to be context aware, though what that means is really hard to parse, given that they also said that Siri this last year was going to be context aware, and then they canceled all of that. So what does context aware mean? Unreleased. That's what it means. So anyways.
Means coming in 2028.
Freaking Siri just turned on my phone. Go away, you stupid, useless piece of crap. Okay. So yeah, Spotlight got a bunch of stuff added to it. Shortcuts also got a bunch of stuff integrated with that. These are cool power user features, and I definitely have talked to some Mac users that will be excited by this. And that's great. Like, I'm happy that these features exist for them. But just as a normal Mac user, I use Spotlight pretty much exclusively to find files and launch apps. That's it. And I don't think that that's going to change.
Yeah.
Like, you can add as much crap as you want to Spotlight. I'm not writing emails from inside of Spotlight, Apple.
No,
that's
going to
just
be an
not,
awful experience.
That's just not a thing that's happening. They're all like, yeah, just for a quick thing, you can just type this context aware, shortcut key, whatever, to launch and send an email. And I'm like, but then I'd have to like use the mail app. No.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm just going to keep using Gmail in my browser like I have been doing for 20 years. So, yeah. Cool. Thanks, bro. They also added the game app to macOS, but one thing they did on Mac that they did not do on iOS is a game overlay, which looks kind of pointless. But the fact that it exists means that somebody at Apple at least opened Steam. And I feel like that's a step in the right direction as far as Mac gaming is concerned. So, like, somebody's aware that Steam exists, and they've looked at it at least once and went, oh, hey, maybe we should have what is this, game overlay? Sure. Currently, it consists, I think, entirely of, like, volume control and like, a friends list or something, not like a way to chat with them. Or anything.
They did mention you can chat, I think.
Did they? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's just the most absolute basic functionality.
Yeah, that was my first thought when I saw that. I was like, oh, they added what Nintendo added this year. Good for them.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty bare bones, but like I said, baby steps. We'll take them. They also, this is more of a developer thing, but they did also announce Metal 4, which is the fourth iteration of the Metal graphics API.
Are you sure it's not Metal 26?
It is not, but don't tempt them because, my gosh, no, they don't release a new version of Metal every year,
Yeah,
so
that's true.
they can't name it that. So yeah, Metal 4 adds some AI frame gen stuff and a few other little tweaks that are kind of mimicking some of the stuff that has been going on in NVIDIA and AMD land as far as that stuff is concerned. Okay, cool. This is basically them just enabling, honestly, enabling more support for the features that they have been adding to their silicon over the past couple of years is really what it seems like. So that's cool. And generally speaking, games on Macs that run natively on Metal are really good. Like, they run shockingly well for the amount of power that they consume. So it's like, it's a good API. Somebody at Apple actually does care, and you can see because of Metal. But it's not enough people at Apple caring in order to turn it into like a gaming haven. So, and frankly, that's okay. Apple, it's fine. You can just give up. SteamOS is coming. We don't need you anymore.
We don't need you.
Is this
So, yeah.
is this the first big update to Metal since the M series chips came out?
No, Metal 3 came out 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
And Metal 3 was the one that introduced ray tracing.
That's right.
Real-time ray tracing was a Metal 3 thing. So Metal 4 is adding like frame interpolation and frame generation stuff that has been happening, kind of been introduced again by NVIDIA and been supported by DirectX for a little bit. So yeah, like it's Metal 4. Metal has done a pretty decent job of keeping up with these new technologies as they're released. They're not quite as fast to implement them as DirectX is, but they're more on par with Vulkan. Like Vulkan as an API added support for frame gen just like 6 months ago or something like that. Hasn't been that long. So Metal tracks with those pretty effectively so far. Okay. That's macOS Tahoe. Anything to add, Landon?
Nope. It's something I
Yeah.
can't utilize because, like I said earlier, my computer is not going to be getting it. I
Yeah.
need a new computer.
which is too bad, because I mean, clear dock. You can have a completely clear dock.
You know, I honestly wouldn't hate that. That's where the liquid glass design actually wouldn't be horrible, is on the dock for your Mac.
Is the dock. It's true.
About
You're
the
not
only
wrong.
place it wouldn't
I-
look bad, but
I actually will say that it was, years and years ago that Apple moved away from having a shelf for the dock
yeah.
to having just a background color for the
Yeah.
dock. Because I remember distinctly being extremely annoyed when they did that, because it was not that long after I had finally upgraded to a computer that had a new enough version of macOS that I got the shelf, because my previous Mac had been running Tiger, and Tiger
Oh.
didn't have the shelf. That
Yeah.
came in Leopard. So it was like, yes, I finally have a new enough Mac that I get the 3D shelf for my dock. And then they released, the one after Mavericks. I can't remember which one that was. Was that Yosemite?
I don't remember.
I can't remember, but the one after Mavericks. And I was so peeved. I was just like, are you kidding? So this is now kind of moving back in the direction of the shelf and like a skeuomorphic dock, because all of the icons can be set to be clear, quote unquote, which means they're going to have to appear as 3D lumps of glass, which that's skeuomorphism right there. So
Yeah.
neat. Okay. visionOS, because that's a thing that exists, listener. I debated talking about this at all because, again, this is a podcast for the average consumer, and no average consumer anywhere on earth has a stupid frickin' Vision Pro. So
Facts.
this does not apply to you, listener, but we're going to take a moment together to mock Apple with the upcoming release of visionOS. First of all, personas, I will actually grant them, do not look nearly as creepy as they used to.
No, they
in
are
this newest
significantly
version.
better.
The newest version that they're for visionOS 26 is going to have like hair and
Yeah.
like eyelashes and eyebrows and stuff like that. They're going to look like people, which is nuts. Whether or not they look like you, can't guarantee that, but they will look human, and that is a huge improvement. The other thing that they announced was support for quote unquote spatial accessories, by which we mean, oh look, controllers.
Yeah.
Because it turns out the hand tracking doesn't work for lots of stuff. which is great.
Yeah.
So yes, it's going to support the Sony controllers for PSVR 2. They're adding support for those, and it's an API so that other controllers can be supported over time. And they are also adding support for a Logitech, I can't remember what they called it. Logitech is making a quote unquote spatial stylus,
Yeah.
which is basically just a, like a pen that you can use in space for these tasks. And I'm just sitting there watching the demo of this thinking, remember when Steve in 2007 stood up on a stage and made fun of the stylus on the phone?
Yep.
And here's Apple adding styluses to a VR headset. Wow.
Now, I actually have heard some
What is going
podcasts
on?
with people that are pretty excited about this, but they are the type of people that are doing 3D mock-ups inside of the headset, and that's the type of person that would utilize this. But for the average consumer, well, even not the average consumer, but the well-paid average consumer that has a Vision Pro headset.
The average Vision Pro owner.
Yes.
Which is miles removed from the average consumer.
Yes,
but
the average Vision Pro user isn't going to care about that.
I think that the crossover for people who are willing to use, or for whom this spatial stylus thing would be useful, it's the people who are using this thing in a corporate setting, but have also never put on a VR headset in their life. And they hear the word controller and think video games and assume it can't possibly be useful for their use case. And so they are like, oh yes, a stylus, because I use that on my digital drafting surface that I do all of my 3D design on now. So that makes sense. Those are the people who think this is a good idea. If they were to grab a set of controllers for a VR headset and use them, they'd realize, oh, actually, this is better because I have two of them and I can use them like hands instead of a pen, right? Like there's no part of the 3D modeling and mock-up stuff that you do in actual VR 3D space that wouldn't be made better by having a second one, I hate to break it to these folks, but Michelangelo did not chisel David using one hand. He used both. That's how that has always worked. And in VR space, yeah, it's better to have a little tool that you can use to kind of control the thing you're working with. But having two is even better than that. So, yeah, controllers. I knew they were going to come.
Yeah.
As soon as they announced the Vision Pro, it was like, no controllers? We'll see how long that lasts.
Well, and of course, Apple's not going to make their own because
no,
that would
be admitting defeat.
Yes, exactly. We'll just we'll let other people use, if they've already got some, we'll make it work, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Yep. And the last thing about the Vision OS is that somebody said the words, quote, spatial web, unquote, and I think that's the singularity right there. Okay. We had Web 2. We had Web 3. Now we have spatial web.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sorry. The spatial web is that spider web that you walk into when you're going underneath a tree and you can't see it and you just freak out at nothing. That's the spatial web.
Yep.
Go touch grass, Apple.
Well, at least if you have your Vision Pro on, you're doing that. It's not going to get in your eyes.
That's true. There you
go. The thing that I saw the most excitement about visionOS 26 was the ability to pin things in locations, and then when you turn off and restart your headset, they're still in those locations, which... Why that wasn't in the beginning, I don't know.
The thing. I thought you could already do that.
Yeah.
I thought that if you pinned things to a location in a room, you were supposed to be able to leave the room and walk back in and they'd still be there. I could have sworn that was already a thing on visionOS.
That was already a thing, but the ability to turn off the headset and turn it back on and still have those things, that's what they're doing now.
Wait, that didn't persist.
No.
See, this, like you said, I thought that was already a thing, and they were showing it off, and I'm all like, okay, duh.
Yeah. No,
it was wild.
The ability to turn your headset off and then back on and have things still where you put them before was not a thing. And apparently beforehand, some people, I don't know why people were using it this way, but people would pin stuff in certain locations, go either upstairs or to a different room or something, and they would still see the window they pinned. Like, I'm looking down to the floor and I see that down there, but there's a floor there, so it shouldn't, that's been fixed, funny. I guess. So,
good.
And I think it wasn't an every time thing. It was just a once in a while bug, but I guess that's been fixed, which is, that's good. But yes, the ability to have things still pinned where they were, again, should have been there at the beginning, but at least it's there now, I suppose.
Yeah, better late than never. Okay. And with that, we come to the actual MVP of this event, which is freaking bananas because it's iPadOS.
Oh, yeah.
That's, I think the first time I've ever been able to say that coming out of WWDC. But the highlight of this whole thing was iPadOS. And they got into it really fast. So, like, I'll just read my notes to you, listener. The first, I have a bullet point that says it's ... wow. And then a series of sub-bullets. Actual windowing system. That's a mouse. Expose. A menu bar. Yeah. Works on external displays. All of them with like exclamation points at the end of them. And then my next bullet. Files app. With sub-bullets. Finder layout and view options. Folders in the dock. Preview. Yeah. Like, this was basically my entire experience watching the entirety of iPadOS. So let's break it down. iPadOS is getting a real windowing system, not that ridiculous hack that was, what did they even call that? Stage Manager.
Stage Manager. That was the dumbest. And the fact that they brought that to Mac was also like, what? No, that's stupid.
No, that was the dumbest thing ever. Which, to be clear, my new Mac has not mentioned that to me at all.
That's not surprising.
My new Mac has not tried to make me use that, which I really appreciate. But yeah, no, it has an actual windowing system now. Now, the number of windows that you're going to be able to have open is going to depend on the number of programs, like the number of apps that your iPad is capable of running simultaneously.
Yeah.
But even for the lowest end hardware that's going to be getting this thing, which I think is the 9th generation iPad, everyone else is getting dropped off the bottom end of it. I think the max was like 8 apps or something.
Which is a lot.
Which is a lot for a tiny little, what size is the 9?
It's a 10-inch iPad.
Or the iPad 9. Is it a 10? The 10-inch? So yeah, for a 10-inch screen, 8 windows is a lot. You don't need that many windows open. So yeah, it's got windows. You can resize them to any size you want. You can drag them around the screen, put them wherever you want. It's got like snapping. You can snap them into locations on the sides and corners and whatever of the screen. It's got like the windowing layout options. It's got the stoplight buttons.
Yeah. That one was
from macOS.
I saw that. I'm like, that's the best thing ever.
Like, you can, they're in the same place. They show up as like 3 grayed out dots until you hover over them with your mouse, and then they show up as buttons. Oh, by the way, it's a mouse now, instead of just a gray blob floating around your screen that like morphs into buttons when you go over button. No, it's just a mouse cursor. Yep. It's still gray, which is kind of weird. Just make it white. I just make it like the Mac, whatever. But it's a mouse cursor now, so that's nifty. They added Expose, right? Yeah. So like, if you are a Mac user, Expose is the thing where you can make your all of your open windows just they all kind of shrink down and rearrange themselves so that you can see everything that's visible, which is like one of the features on macOS that is the reason Mac managed to go so long without having a proper window snapping system in place.
Yeah.
And everybody that I talked to on Windows was all like, what do you mean you don't have window snapping in place? How do you survive? How can you have 10 windows open without window snapping or like 30 monitors? What's wrong with you? macOS is in the dark ages, and I'm sitting here with my trackpad and like a 4-finger swipe that shows me all of my open windows. I can just click on one and away I go. I'm just like, This isn't a problem.
No.
You just have never used this OS before. It's not what you think.
I use that all the time. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and like on any computer, I always like they have the little hot corners that you can set up things. For me, it's always bottom right, and that does it. And now I've actually got it set up to where I push a button on my mouse and it does it as well. Like it's that I utilize it that often that I'm like, it's a shortcut every time I turn on a new computer. It's going to be there.
And Expose is default functionality on Macs with a trackpad, right? With an Apple trackpad, that there's a gesture that comes preloaded for that. And it's great and it works awesome. And so in addition to adding a bunch of windows, they're adding Expose. So you can stack a bunch of windows on top of each other. And then with a quick gesture, you can see all of them, tap on the one you want to use, and you're good to go. That's awesome. They added a menu bar to the top of the screen for your active app that has stuff like, the menu stuff, like your app settings and common app functionality and stuff like that would normally be in the menu bar at the top of a Mac.
Yeah.
You've got that on the iPad now. And external display support that is just, it's an external display. It's not just a duplication of what you currently have or whatever bizarre freaking nonsense was involved with Stage Manager. There was like so many hoops you had to jump through in order to get external displays to work properly with that. It's not that. It just looks like an external display. You can drag windows onto it. You can resize them on that thing. They can live over there. You can be doing something on the other iPad screen. It's awesome. Then, complete rework of the Files app, because if you're going to have something that looks and feels like a desktop operating system, you have to have a frickin' file browser that works, that actually allows you to see the things on your device and use them. And you want to know what a really great file browser is? Finder on the Mac is frickin' awesome. Multiple tabs. It's got all the like visual stuff visual customization that you could use for viewing things in a way that makes sense for your workflows. They have completely retooled the Files app on iPadOS to function very similarly to how Finder does on a Mac.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. That includes stuff like recoloring folders and adding icons to folders, which is a thing that they added to macOS Tahoe, which I was like, that's weird. And then they said they were doing that also on iPadOS, and I was like, that's why.
Yeah.
It's just like they did that for that reason. But that's pretty cool. And now you still don't have a desktop, quote unquote, like you do on a Mac on the iPad, which is kind of a failing for my personal opinion of how computing devices get used. But still no desktop, but you can now take folders from your Files app and drop them in the dock so that they're permanently available in the dock. And then if you click on them, they will expand out to show you the files in the folder, which you can then select from there the same way that they do in the dock on a Mac, which is really great. So all of this stuff is functionality that has existed on traditional computers like the Mac and Windows for a long, long time that is coming to the iPad. And one thing I really appreciate about how they've done this is that it was, and this is, they actually have a pretty good reason here for why they have never just added macOS to the iPad. Because the iPad is not a Mac. It's not meant to be used like a Mac. It's meant to be used like an iPad. And as someone who has done quite a lot of productive use, like productive work on an iPad, honestly, I appreciate that there is a separation between those two things. I really like it. So they've added all of this functionality in a way that is iPad, that is not Mac. They didn't just copy paste the Mac over to the iPad and call it a day, because that user experience would have sucked.
Yeah.
What they did instead is they redesigned iPadOS to have that same user experience while also working as an iPad. And I think it's really cool. But by far, the thing that just straight up immediately sold me one of these like a new iPad, because my current iPad came out in 2017. It's not it doesn't even have last year's version of iPadOS. It's definitely not getting this one. Preview. They added the preview app to iPadOS. And as someone who works with PDFs a lot, listener, Preview is the best PDF editor on the planet. Apple co-developed the PDF file format with Adobe back in like the late 90s. And they both took ownership of the file format, and they both went their separate directions with making programs to work with it. With Adobe, you got Acrobat and Acrobat Reader. Apple, you got Preview. And Apple, it's a better piece of software. It is so much better. It's better at filling out forms. It's better at editing previews. It's better at copying text from previews. It's better at reading them. It's faster. So much faster. Stuff that freaking Acrobat will do, it stutters to a halt over the most basic things. And a Preview just absolutely blows through them. So yeah, the Preview app is freaking amazing, and you can now finally do pretty much all of your generic office work on an iPad now that Preview is there. Because the previous PDF viewer that is the same as the one in iOS doesn't do jack. That thing is useless. So like that being, you couldn't do anything with PDFs on an iPad before. But with Preview, as long as it really is Preview and it actually is the same as the one that's on the Mac, yeah, now you can create all of your Word and Excel and PowerPoint documents or whatever using Microsoft's apps, export them as PDFs, and do all the stuff you actually want to do with them in Preview. Oh man, the iPad can now replace like literally millions upon millions of business Dell and HP laptops.
Yeah.
Just, it's freaking awesome. Okay. As you can tell, I'm pretty excited about iPad.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's just like, I gotta like pull myself back in every now and again, just to like, okay, all right. Audio input selection.
Yay!
This is
where I got
gosh.
excited.
This has been such a long time coming.
I was really excited about all those features you talked about, and then they went on to this. I'm like, oh. As the podcast producer person that I am, I'm like, this is amazing. I am all over all of these features that Caleb is about to talk about.
Yes. Well, I mean, so audio input selection. I don't know if you've ever tried to use anything to record anything on any iOS or iPadOS device at any point, listener, but that is an experience that I can only describe as Sisyphean, right? The dude from ancient Greece who has to push a rock up a hill and it rolls back down and he just starts it. That guy. Yeah. I want to say it never worked properly, or even it never worked, but I feel like that's misrepresenting it. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
Right? Like you would connect an audio input device to your iPad or your phone or whatever and pray that it would work how you expect it to.
Yep.
It was totally obtuse. There was no actual user control over it, right? Like if you plugged in or connected a Bluetooth headset, that was just your input now, was that Bluetooth headset. Did you want to just use the headphones and then use the microphone on the phone to record because it was better? Tough luck. Sucks to be you. Guess you should have bought a different set of headphones without a microphone on them, I guess. I don't really know what they wanted, like it was just always impossible to parse. So now iPadOS, you're going to be able to select from at a system level from a list of available audio inputs what's going to be used. From the way they talked about it, from what I understand, it's going to be an API as well that will allow individual apps to give you control to select an input device per app. Like, freaking, I don't know, like it's like an actual operating system, you know? Like it's
Yes.
something that gives you power and control as a user. So yeah, that
You know those commercials probably, it's been at least 8, 9, maybe 10 years ago when they were really pushing the iPad as a computer that you could use. And it's like, what's a computer? You know,
yeah.
we're there. I think
Finally,
we are finally there.
Finally. Yeah. Took them so friggin' long, but finally, yeah, I think that's true. They also, this one is, okay. Local audio visual capture on iOS devices and iPadOS devices has always been a bit strange. If you wanted to do local capture of like just your screen, like a screen recording with sound and stuff like that included, they added that functionality. I can't remember how long it's been. It's been like 5 years or something like that since they added screen recording. And it's a pretty darn good implementation of screen recording. It works fairly well. But there's like a whole subset of functionality that was totally missed with that. And I remember this quite distinctly because it was around the time that Microsoft bought whatever Mixer was before they rebranded it to Mixer. And we were talking about that and trying to Beam. Yeah. We were talking about like, you know, how they were, they're going to add streaming to phones and stuff like that. We're going to be able to stream from phones to Mixer. And Android was, you know, they had 2 separate apps for that, and it was pretty fully functioning right out the gate. But there was a bunch of stuff about iOS's implementation that just did not work properly with that. And this was kind of one of those things where like you couldn't record the camera and the screen and get audio and mix it. Like there was system level blocks that prevented that from working. This seems to finally be removing those.
Yeah.
Like it's actually going to give you the ability to, it's going to be able to give developers the ability to use all of your local audio inputs and audio production and video sources and your screen and stuff like that. You're actually going to be able to use all of those simultaneously from an app. The one that they're showing off obviously is FaceTime, because that's like their first party stuff where it's implemented currently. But it seems like they're giving quite a lot of power to developers with the APIs that are going to be available for this. What they were showing off in FaceTime was the ability to record a call, essentially, from both sides, right? Like it's going to record your audio from you, which you can now select your audio input device, and it's going to record the audio of the person who's calling you, and then on separate tracks from what it looked like, right? Is that...
So the way it works is, in the industry, it's called a double ender. And the way it works is it records, like, listener, this is a little behind the scenes of how we do our podcast. So like the way typically you've had to do this in the past, and the way we do it is we connect video-wise via Discord, and we all record ourselves locally on our own devices. That's called a double ender. There are softwares out there. The most popular one for podcasting is called Riverside that will do this for you. It's a video conferencing app. It also records audio, but it records it locally. So like you don't have to worry about internet glitches messing up audio sounds, which does happen on occasion. So you don't have to worry about that. And so this is just taking that and building it into the operating system and allowing third-party apps like Zoom or other video conference calls to tie into this API and be able to do that. So this allows you, listener, to be able to have like fully produce, record, do video if you want to, do audio, and even edit if you want to, a podcast solely on an iPad with good audio, because you can get a decent USB-C microphone that will plug directly into your iPad. And then there you go. Like I've heard some podcast people talking about this, like this is now going to be my setup that I send to people. Like if they don't have their own equipment, I'm going to send them an iPad and a microphone and say, here you go. This is how we're going to record. Because it's cheaper and easier than trying to explain to somebody how to do it themselves. And so when I heard this, I'm like, this is amazing. And I desperately want to try it myself. And we actually told Wes before the podcast, you're going to have to buy an iPad so we can all three do this at the same time.
I mean, like I said, they said preview and sold me an iPad right there. But yeah, this one, I was watching it because this is the implementation they're showing off of, from what I understand, is quite a broad API that is going to allow apps to use local capture of audio and video in an interesting way. What they're showing off with FaceTime, and essentially what they were showing off with FaceTime, was that you have the call, the audio gets recorded locally on both ends. As soon as you end the call or hit a button inside the app or whatever, it just automatically via iCloud sends the audio to the other, like to whoever initiated the call, I guess, or
that's exactly how Riverside works as well. It's like whoever is the main person, whoever's doing the quote unquote call, like they're the main caller or the producer or whoever hits record or whatnot. Again, it's all recorded locally on separate devices, but then it's uploaded automatically and sends to that person. And it's great. And I feel kind of bad for Riverside because, like I said, that's been the go-to app. There are other apps that do this, but that's the go-to one for most podcasters. Now, for anybody that doesn't want to, I mean, right now, as far as we can tell, this is not something they're doing on macOS, which I find strange. They should put this on the computer, but I do love that it is there on the iPad. So I guess in a way, it's not really going to take away from most people that are already using Riverside, because this is more of a mobile type setup, in my opinion, for podcasters. Yeah. But I do love that the feature is there.
Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Now, along with all of this stuff we've been talking about, actual windowing system, the ability to, change your audio input and use the thing for essentially a functioning podcast recording setup. Being able to use preview for ostensibly, actual office type work and that kind of thing. You may be wondering, listener, if you have ever owned an iPad, how in the heck is any of this actually going to work when the way that iPadOS functions is that the second you move away from an app, it's immediately paused so that, you don't waste battery life on it or something like that. A lot of the stuff you do in actual workflows involves going back and forth between apps. And you don't want them to have to pause and reawake every single time, especially since, in a lot of cases, that's going to break some of your workflows entirely. Like, for instance, if you're the type of person who is editing audio on your device and you want to export that audio, you start the export and then you move away from that app to do literally anything. The export fails because the app gets killed by the OS.
Yeah.
Actually, they're going to stop doing that.
Yeah.
So
love that.
This one was kind of a big one. Background tasks. They're going to let background tasks continue to run in the background. From what it sounds like, this is, again, a thing that's going to have to be implemented by the developers. They're going to have to tag certain tasks inside of the app as a background task, so that if you do move away from the app, the OS will be like, oh, wait, I'm not going to kill this task because that's a background task. It's supposed to be running right now. So there will be some stuff that needs to be updated for that in individual apps. But once it is implemented, these background tasks are essentially going to be treated like live activities in the OS itself. So you'll be able to see them alongside other live activities that are going on in the background. So yeah, you'll be able to, start exporting a video in Final Cut Pro, which that's an iPad app that Apple makes themselves, that in the past, you started exporting a video and then you, turned the iPad off or went to check your text messages or something like that. It killed the export. It just died. Like, this is Apple's own freaking app. So yeah, they're fixing that. It'll just pop into a live activity at the top of the screen or whatever, and you'll be able to keep going with it. So yeah, iPadOS, best part of WWDC 25 by a long shot.
Oh yeah.
And genuinely, for the first time, finally seems like an actual legitimate replacement for many workflows to a laptop.
Yeah.
Is it macOS? No. It's iPadOS. It's designed for the iPad. It is iPad first. It's going to function better than macOS would on an iPad. But it has the vast majority of the actual functionality you need for production use, which is great. The only downside to all of this is that because of how light the updates were on macOS and how much emphasis there was on iPadOS, does sort of look like Apple is going to start treating iPadOS like that's their real computer OS and stop supporting macOS so much, which makes a whole lot of business sense when you remember that the only way to get apps onto an iPad is through the App Store, and Apple takes a 30% cut of everything that happens there. So there's your cynical PS to this whole thing, where I've been excitedly chatting about all of this cool stuff that Apple's been adding to their operating systems, and particularly to iPadOS. I am a little bit concerned on that point.
Yeah, and the way I see it, I mean, I do completely agree with you on that it does appear that that's the way they're going. But I'm not fully worried about the Mac. I mean, it's going to be taking a step back as opposed to what it has been the last couple years with M1 and with the M processors and all that stuff. But I think, and they've kind of been doing, like, I've gotten this feeling from them in the past few years that the Mac is going to be very heavily focused more on creatives than the iPad. Like, the iPad is going to be the general consumer device, whereas the Mac, like, they've been heavily pushing with the Mac Studio, the MacBook Pro, the new Mac Mini is this way as well. It's like, these are devices more for those people that need the more heavy production side of things that they still can't do on an iPad. Whereas 95% of their consumers can do everything they need to do now on an iPad and or an iPhone. So,
yeah.
And like I said, they've kind of been like, that's the feeling I've got with how they've been pushing their Macs in the past few years. And I kind of see it going more heavily into that, especially now that iPadOS is this way.
I think you're probably right. As a member of the 95% of consumers, though, I'd really rather not have to pay quite so much for my apps. You know?
Yeah.
Like on macOS, I can get open source apps to do things. And that's great. That's grand. Love that. I'd really rather not have to go into the App Store and pay subscription fees for all of that stuff, you know? So it's a point of concern. We're not there yet, listener. And by the time Apple gets us to that point, they may very well have been forced to just open up the ecosystem worldwide anyways. We can hope.
Yeah.
But that's where we're at after WWDC 25. It was a lot. There was a lot going on, and a lot of it was good. I was quite pleased with the majority of it. They did not spend much time talking about AI, and they instead spent time talking about liquid glass, which is a silly name, but this is from the company that branded the color blue and gray as aqua back in the early noughts. And I was okay with it then. I'm okay with liquid glass now. It's fine. It looks nice most of the time, and we'll see if it doesn't look nice some of the time, I'm sure. But yeah, good times.
Good. Man, that was a lot. Mister, there wasn't going to be very much.
Well, yeah. To be fair, most of what I said was just liquid glass in 26.
True.
But
True.
with
footnotes. Okay, well, I guess that's all we want to talk about with WWDC 25. We're going to move on to some general tech news. This one is you get T-Satellite. You get T-Satellite. You get T-Satellite.
Yes. So last week, listener, we mentioned how T-Mobile was opening up T-Satellite beta to AT&T users to be able to try out for free for a certain amount of time. Well, that's actually now the case for anybody. If you are a cell phone user, you have a cell phone plan with pretty much, anybody really. You do have to have a specific type of cell phone, but that list is pretty long. It's not a limited list by any means. You can try out T-Satellite for free for, I think, at least through the end of July is how long this beta runs. So you got a month and a half or so, depending on when you're listening to this and if you sign up. But it is free, and there you go. And it only, you have to give them your name and email address and a phone number, and it utilizes the same. I'm assuming the way it sounds, it utilizes the same phone number, just via different eSIM. So you have to have a phone that can support eSIMs. That's kind of the barrier to entry right there, but most phones nowadays do. And it only starts to use the T-Satellite service when you are in a place that can't use your normal cell service to text message people. And that's all it's using, or all the functionality that it can do right now is text messaging, which is fine. When you're in a scenario where you need to get a hold of somebody, that's most of the time going to be enough, because as Caleb mentioned before, we don't answer phone calls. So even if you were to try and call, you're not going to get anybody. You're going to get someone faster by texting them. So that's kind of cool. And from what it sounds like, after this beta period is done, you will be able to sign up for T-Satellite, and they're not going to limit it to only T-Mobile customers. And it also sounds like the price is going to be $15 a month for non-T-Mobile subscribers. And then certain T-Mobile plans will just have it included for free inside of their plan if they want. And then other T-Mobile subscribers, it will be $10 a month, I think, depending on what your plan is again. But yeah, so if you're not an AT&T user, not a T-Mobile user, you're just a average cell phone user using, Verizon, Mint, Google Fi, any of these, you can try out T-Satellite for free for a month and a half. So it's almost kind of like a why not? I mean, I'm probably not going to, but if you're in an area that has either sketchy service or you go places that has sketchy service, I would say give it a shot, just because you can try it for free, and if it works to how you want it to, $15 a month for that extra, just peace of mind, I guess, depending on where you're at, is not bad. It's not a bad price. So there you go. T-Satellite for everyone.
Yay!
Still a stupid name.
Yes. All right, we're going to move on to some gaming news. Ahoy! Kickstarter.
Yeah. The way you said that, not
I know.
Ahoy! Kickstarter. No. Maybe I should have written that note differently. This is a Kickstarter for a game called Ahoy. So I mentioned this because I am going to be going on a trip in the next couple of weeks. Very possible that by the time I actually am on the podcast again, this is going to be over. So quick mention now. Ahoy! Saw a trailer for this past week. Genuinely an in-development game that I'm more excited for than, GTA 6, frankly. It's a first-person multi-crew Age of Sail game. As they describe it, a multiplayer voyage to the 1780s. Cooperate with friends to explore the vibrant history of the West Indies. From the trailer, and they knew exactly where they were going with this. It included the I can't remember the name of the song by Boccherini or whatever. It's a classical piece, or Baroque, I guess, is the time period. But if you know this song, listener, you know it from the movie Master and Commander. It's the song that plays over the very last shot of the movie. Cello, violin, duet kind of thing. And this game can literally be described as Master and Commander, the game. Which for me, personally, love that movie. Kind of just love the aesthetic. Seems like it's really fun. I wanted to make you aware of it, listener, in case this is the kind of thing you feel like you would like to back. I have not backed it. It doesn't need your help. It is currently, with 21 days to go at this point, sitting at $511,000 raised of $108,000 required. Right? They had a goal of just over $100,000, and they have blown past it by 5 times. So yeah, it's funded, very well funded, and yeah. But, looks like a cool game. They're building, the ships they're building and stuff are based off of historic vessels and historic ship types. They are building the whole thing out in Unreal Engine. So it looks absolutely stunning. It's gorgeous. This stuff they're showing off, the actual in-game assets that they've built up so far. Their plan is they're going to start off with just like essentially a sailing simulator where you can get a crew together and just get on the ship and sail around. And I don't know, that sold me Sea of Thieves. Yes. So I think that'll probably work for me personally.
I was going to say, that's the whole reason you play Sea of Thieves, is just to do that. So this sounds like your game.
True.
Actually, the only reason. No, I'm fully on board. Then after that, they're going to be introducing what they call, I can't even remember what they were calling it. Arenas. That's what it is, where they're going to have like small maps where with multiple ships with their separate crews, and you're going to be competing against each other in a couple of different arena modes. Which, ship to ship combat, that was a big thing in the Age of Sail. And then the long-term goal, but they're like, we're going to be focusing mostly on just getting to that arena point where that's the game we're promising now, because we don't know about the future. But if we are able to, we want to turn this into an entirely open world recreation of the West Indies that you can sail around, do commerce, do NPC quests, do Sea of Thieves, except not cartoony and no mysticism or magic skeletons or anything like that. It's just as historically accurate a recreation as they can possibly get. So there you go. Ahoy. It's on Kickstarter now. If that sounds like something you're into, you should go check out the backer options. I genuinely, I'm kind of looking at it now and I'm just like, oh man, how much do I have to do in order to get the basic version of the thing so that I can sail it around during their alpha testing?
How much?
And unfortunately, I think it's $60 or something like that. Like it's not crazy cheap.
At least it's not 80.
So that's true. It is cheaper than Nintendo. So But yeah.
Well, cool. That is something to look at and back. And if you're just like Caleb, it might be a better Sea of Thieves for you.
Hey, well, I mean, as long as I can set it so that I don't get attacked by people, like if they take the calm sailing mode and just replace it with the arena mode instead of adding the arena mode onto it, then that would make me sad, because the calm sailing mode is literally the only reason I'm here.
Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the episode, unless, Landon, you got one more thing for us?
No.
I didn't think so. I didn't hear me saying Yahoo, so.
I mean, do you want to hear that? I can.
Not really, but all right, listener, we really appreciate you listening to the end of the episode. If you have any questions or concerns or just want to talk about WWDC 25, you can get a hold of us on our social media platforms, as well as callingallplatforms.com. And if you want to see any videos that have been produced and made by yours truly over there, Caleb, you can take a look at those on our YouTube channel, Calling All Platforms.
Sure.
All right, dear listener, have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.